decided to come on this trip and told some friends. Some other friends came, and then other friends gave us donations of money.
Close to $2,000. It's an amazing amount of money. And then on top of that, we brought 3 cars full of donated shoes and clothing, all of it, much of it new, all of it clean and bundled separately. The Catholic Charities and Team Brownsville people have been really excited that everything has been packaged so nicely and labeled so nicely. So I'd like to think we've provided them a service too.
We have been overwhelmed by the generosity of people at home, which indicates a great concern and compassion that people have for the people here on the border.
I'll be happy to pay you back for that, because I was thinking, she doesn't want things, I was looking for something plastic or metal. Yeah.
We are at Sam's in Harlingen buying supplies to take over to Mateo 2535, and then also to take to Brownsville, to Team Brownsville, for them to package food and such to take to people waiting in Matamoros to cross.
I'm Cray, and I am down here taking pictures, following the group around, and been to Brownsville a couple times. We've been across the border to Matamoros and spent some time in McAllen at the bus station, at the Catholic Charities Respite Center.
The first day we made dinner for about a little over 200 people, and then we went across the border and served it to people waiting to be processed. So we did that the first day. We went and we taught English some days. We played with kids a lot. We made more dinners and served it. It was a lot of cooking.
Behind me is the International Bridge where we crossed over. I've crossed twice now. I crossed yesterday and the day before. The first night we gave out a meal that we had fixed and then brought over to give to the people living just right on the other side of the bridge that are waiting to come over. And we gave them food that night, and the next morning we came back over and we brought them blankets so that they can sleep on them most of the time and not just have to sleep on the ground.
For me, going across the border and seeing everybody there, specifically the kids, I'm an education major, and so seeing the kids that haven't really been able to get an education kind of really touched me in a way that I wasn't really expecting.
Team Brownsville, we had the opportunity of going with them 2 nights ago. They cook food for probably 250, 300 people every evening. They cook it in Texas, and it's warm food. They put them in wagons and they walk across the border, across the bridge, across the Rio Grande, and right on the other side of the border there's an encampment of these families, of these people that have come from Guatemala, from Cuba, from El Salvador, from Africa, and they're waiting for their date, their asylum date, and instead of being able to wait in America, they're having to wait there.
A highlight for me for the trip was La Posada, which is the place, it's a temporary shelter for refugees as they transition through, done by a couple of Irish nuns and some Catholic sisters. And it was just a really, really cool place because they're just constantly taking people in and constantly trying to take more people in and feeding them and housing them and teaching them.
Also went to Mateo 2535, and Maya is such an incredible person, divinely guided and supported, and she just on all these simple things taught us so much about life and gave us a wonderful lunch. Made us feel 10 feet tall when we left, and just being around her, you can feel the love she shares with everyone else.
I met some really cool people at the Good Neighbor Settlement House and learned about what they did there and how they serve the homeless community and a bunch of other people.
Iglesia Bautista they are a shelter, a respite center, but it's not an overnight shelter. But they have clothing and shoes and food for anyone that comes.
Fondest memory I have right now is watching at the bus station yesterday, and there's a group called the Angry Tias and Abuelas, the Angry Aunts and Grandmothers. And they're at the bus station every day. Yesterday I watched a young father, single father. His wife is still back in Honduras, struggling to comb the hair of his probably 4-year-old daughter. She had long black hair that went down to her waist, and he was having a difficult time getting ready for their bus trip to wherever. And one of the abuelas walked over. She had a new hairbrush, and she asked the father, "Could I help you with your daughter's hair?" And he was very appreciative, and the girl was very appreciative. And she spoke kind, soft words to her and brushed her hair and gave her a new shirt and a toy to take on her long bus trip.
One of the things we did at Catholic Charities was wash dishes. We cooked, and we served with other volunteers from around the country. And that was one of the things that impressed me, is that there are people coming from all over the nation to the border to help.
The primary impression I have is this place would be chaos if it wasn't for the wonderful volunteers down here at the border helping these people negotiate our rather complex system that we've set up.
All I really knew was from the TV, which was not even close to accurate.
You know, I just didn't really know what to expect. You know, I understood that coming on this trip, I would be helping with giving them their basic human rights, which they deserve no matter what side of the political standpoint you're on. They deserve, you know, basic human rights.
Right here at the border, you realize it's actually people. It's not policy, it's people's life that are being affected.
They're not different from us, and their motivations are the same, you know, wanting to love and protect their family and do the best they can.
I had one person tell me, Matamoros Orondo, he said, "Why are you so serious? Smile." And I looked at him and I wanted to say, there's nothing to smile about here. This is sad, but I didn't say that, I just smiled. It doesn't have to be a serious thing to bring some joy and happiness into a space that right now doesn't have a lot of joy and happiness into it, is a gift.
This trip has been great so far, and I feel like I've been learning a lot, and most importantly I've been learning about love, and I think that's a really great thing.
In the end, we all are capable of loving each other and supporting each other.
Well, I think there is great theological motivation for being here. The prophetic revelation in the Old Testament that God is concerned about the widows and orphans and wanderers and strangers, and God's concern for justice and mercy is drilled into me. And then Jesus is keeping company with those on the margins of society, and his virtual identity with those who are hungry and thirsty and sick and in prison. I think we have seen the kingdom of God in action here.
Thank you for donating for this trip. It's definitely helped feed people and helped clothe people, and they've been very grateful.
Thank you so much for helping make this trip possible by donating or praying or whatever you've done. You were a part of this. There's a lot to be done, and there's a lot of really, really amazing work that was done this week, and that is thanks to you. So thank you so much.